Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Roll Call. I'm your host, Joseph Giacalone. And for those of you that are new to Roll Call is when the cops get up together in the morning. They're all dressed in uniform. They got their inspections and they get their assignments for the day. And if you're looking for a pop reference culture, of course, Hill Street Blues and the famous Be Careful Out There. So that's what Roll Call. Here at Roll Call, we discuss the cases and the trials and the investigations that you guys have been following. We try to break them down for you. And today we're going to do so with the arrest of Victor Antonio Martinez-Hernandez into the death of Rachel Morin. So we are going to discuss some of these things because Mike and I were talking about this offline a couple of days ago, and there's a couple of gaps, and we're going to try to fill in those gaps for you. We don't know for sure, but, the idea behind this would be to maybe put you into specific directions. I'm also going to show you a little investigation that you guys can do on your own. I'm going to put it into the show notes, but I'm going to show you on the screen here. Everybody's favorite retired detective, Mike Alcazar. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Joe. Good morning, everybody.
So Mike and I had breakfast together for Father's Day yesterday, so we were discussing a little bit. We woke up and we were at 13,000 subscribers yesterday, and we kind of blew through that number too. So I want to thank everybody for your support in this. It's been pretty wild. In like 12 days, we added 2,000 subscribers. So we're growing pretty fast.
That's pretty insane. Thanks for everybody that's liking and subbing and sharing and criticizing and leaving.
Well, listen, people, the criticism comes from, people don't agree. That's fine. But the idea is to have some, discourse and we can discuss things and that kind of stuff. But today's show is all about Rachel Morin and how they got, the police got their man, so to speak. Mike, Mike and I probably weren't too surprised that this arrest came pretty quickly. But I know many people were. I kind of went out on a limb, Mike, and I took a guess, and I said that I felt something was coming soon, just based on, the quietness of the whole thing from law enforcement. But big chance I took.
That's crazy. You called it. Good morning, Gizella. Gizella actually gave you a shout out on Twitter. I saw that. You totally called that. So good job.
And Gizella is the main reason why we had that huge bump in subscribers too. So thanks, Gizella.
Thank you, Gizella.
She's got a huge following. So if you got Grizzly True Crime and Gizella and all her Grizzlies, most of them are here probably this morning. But yeah, no, it was an exciting time because of the fact that this case is something that I've been following. As a matter of fact, in January, I put out a video that said these are the cases I'm going to be following, and one of them was the Rachel Morin case. And the reason why I was kind of drawn to this case, Mike, like many others, is here's this young woman just jogging in the park and just brutally killed. I mean, it's just one of those things that this can happen to anybody, anywhere, and any time. And there's a list of female joggers now that have been attacked. And maybe, Mike, at the end, we can talk about maybe some suggestions about how to, keep safe while you're doing this stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
When you watch the presser, Mike, did anything jump off the page at you when you were listening to what was going on?
I know we're going to discuss it, but the only thing that jumped out was at the end when he brought politics into it. I thought that was kind of like a little bit out of taste, I mean, it kind of took away from the information that he was giving. Now, I don't know if the family wanted that, or maybe they agreed with it. But I just thought it kind of took away from the arrest and the emotions we were feeling. And then boom, he hits, I get it. Definitely. The border is an issue. 100%. I totally agree. But I just didn't think it was the place for it.
I think, people could have been, here's a chance where you could draw your own conclusions, right, about what's going on. You mentioned the two cases, but since you brought that up, Mike, I'm going to share the screen because unfortunately now, because of those statements, this is what's going on. Hang on a second. So, yeah, I never want to see the police get political in certain things. I just don't like it. So, because here it is. Now look at this. This is the latest news, and everything is, guess what? Everything's about illegal aliens and this and that and the whole other thing. I mean, they rarely get into who Rachel was. They forget about the victim. Now everything turns into politics, and that's why it was
Yeah,
unfortunate, I thought.
yeah, because the focus should be on Rachel. Um, you
The
know,
family, the
the
kids.
family, yeah, and her kids, the closure, and now we're seeing this ugly bastard all over the place. I hate him. I get it. Before people start jumping on me, listen, if you watch me on the news, you know which way I lean on this. I'm not going to talk about it in the show because, again, the focus is on the arrest. And so I just thought that wasn't the time for it. So,
Yeah, me too. Listen, there's a time and a place for everything. I just thought that at a press conference, everyone could have drawn their conclusions when he mentioned it. He didn't have to address 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue and that kind of thing. I just thought that was kind of, you know. But
yeah.
listen, what's done is done. It can't be undone, right? So it is what it is. But let's get back into the arrest here. So the last August we had this attack. They recovered DNA. Now there's a timeline that, and I'm using my official notepad, the Dunkin' Donuts napkin. The a timeline. There you go. The timeline on this case is short but brutal. Allegedly, his first victim, now we find out, was happening in El Salvador, where he's wanted for a murder in El Salvador, and that was in January of 2023.
Yeah.
In February 23, he entered the United States, and then in LA, he attacked a 9-year-old and the mother. That was in March of 2023. So you can see January, February, March. Now, here's my problem, right, Mike? This is why I wanted you on here today, because I want you to see if we can get into this investigative mindset. He has the murder in El Salvador in January. He enters in February, and he's in LA committing whatever acts. They haven't told us what it is, but we can just imagine what happened there. So within those 2.5 months or 3 months, even shorter, right? Because we don't know the exact dates where he entered and all that other stuff. He's actually kind of moving pretty quickly through his crime spree. And then there's this big gap, which I worry about. That gap between March and when August comes around. We're talking about, 5 months or 4 months. We don't know where he is. And if he's already doing these kind of things that close, I'm really worried. And I think that the sheriff tipped off to that too. That basically they're worried about finding other cases.
Oh, 100%. I mean, you go 3 months in a row and then there's nothing. I mean, yeah, he's definitely done something else. I'm sure they're gonna find out. Not that they have him. Maybe now they have him and they have his picture and his information. Maybe more victims will come out once they can identify him 100%. Right, just like when we make an arrest in a squad and we have a pattern. We bring everybody out for lineups. Everybody gets a lineup, see if we can ID this guy. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's linked to other crimes. And hopefully they do, so they can solve these other crimes that maybe went unreported. I mean, he could have victimized other migrants. He could have victimized other citizens.
Yes, and that's the thing I want to get into.
Yeah, maybe during his escape. Who knows what he did while he was on the run. Right. Good job on the investigators for making their arrest. So,
yeah, and Gisela chimes in and says that almost 11-month gap. Also worried about other crimes he may have committed during that time. Yes,
100%.
And Mike, I think you hit the nail on the head about probably victimizing other migrants because they are afraid to come to the police. Right? That's what I was kind of alluding to, and I'm glad you fell into that because that's exactly what I wanted to talk about. When I did the show a couple of days ago with Matt McMahon, the father of their eldest child, between him and Rachel, this whole thing came up about, the communities and the migrants and everything like that. And I had said, listen, we really don't want to get into that because we don't want to invoke fear into those communities because they already are worried about being deported and stuff like that, and they don't want to cooperate. But I think somebody somewhere must have cooperated or tipped them off because there's a lot of different.
Oh yeah,
there's a lot of blanks that need to be filled in, and they said they weren't going to fill them in, but we're going to try to fill those in today, Mike.
Oh yeah, for sure, absolutely. There was definitely cooperation in identifying him, and they probably, they vetted the information because some people might just give information, just to give information, just maybe to mislead police or to get themselves out of trouble. In the squad, as you know, Joe, we do a lot of debriefing. So for the people that don't know, when we make an arrest, right, we debrief prisoners, and that means we ask them about anything else other than what they were arrested for, so they don't feel like they're compelled to answer or give themselves up for the current crime they're being under arrest for. So we debrief everybody. I guarantee they debriefed everybody. Can you tell us anything about anything? Not even specifically about this case, but anything. And I can almost guarantee that they gave information about helping solve this case, which is good.
Yep, and just to bring up another point about that little lesson on debriefing, there's no Miranda issues there because you're not asking them about anything that they're responsible for. You're asking them what the other people. I just wanted to make a quick shout out to Rob McMullen for that for congrats to hitting 13,000, Joe. The sky's the limit. Thank you, Rob, for being part of it. And Raul just gifted 5 memberships. Raul, thank you very much. You do so much for this channel already, but I really appreciate that, buddy. Thank you very much. If you're not following Raul and what he does, please go do so. So let's talk about this now, Mike, because it's almost like when they describe this as a magic trick, right? Oh, we got this, and then all of a sudden, boom, we got this, and we're in El Salvador, and we're here, we're there, and next thing you know, we're in Tulsa, Oklahoma, in some store, and all of a sudden, everything is kind of, listen, this was remarkable police work, period, right? Unlike what we've seen, what's going on in other locations about police work, this one is remarkable. And it also shows you when you bring in your federal partners in a timely fashion and you give them the access to certain things and they have the tools to do this stuff. This case would not be able to be solved without the federal government and the FBI coming in. Simple as that.
100%, 100%. All hands on deck. Is that the saying? I'm a little slow this morning, but yeah, definitely.
All hands on deck. They had the FBI. They had another unit, HSB, I think it was. I was trying to find out what they were. I think that it's more like maybe a local, because where this, the sheriff's office here is really small. It's about a half an hour or 45 minutes from Baltimore, and that's why the Baltimore field office of the FBI was called in. We're going to talk about the agent Del Bagno. These guys and girls that did all this stuff. I mean, really. This is going to be a textbook example about how things work. And I want to talk about the red notices and basically we could show people how you can even do your own little investigations in regards to some of these things. But let's talk about the DNA. So we know that we get the DNA hit from Los Angeles. And I've been reading online, too, that, people are complaining about the Los Angeles Police Department, didn't do enough to try to see if they could get this guy and what have you. I mean, Mike, we know in big cities, you have these crimes, they happen. People seem to disappear. And the next thing you know, you run into 5 more of these same kinds of crimes. And, it's unfortunate that they weren't able to identify him. But I don't think it's from a lack of trying, because if you have an assault against a 9-year-old.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, yeah, come on. They're doing exactly what we would expect them to do in any case. But when you have children, you're bringing in, of course, federal agents. You're bringing in everything that goes along with this. So I just think that they just weren't able to, at that time, track him to where his whereabouts.
No, I mean, especially, he doesn't have, I think we discussed this, he doesn't have, they have his DNA, but he doesn't have any social security number. There's no ID, no way of tracking him. It's like a needle in a haystack. And they have to, they must have done thousands of interviews, so definitely not a easy case to solve. I mean, I remember hunting down a perp. I had his picture, I had his address. It still took me like 3 months, and I had him ID'd, so imagine a guy, if you don't have any information, no birth certificate, no passport information. That's a lot of work, folks. That's very, very challenging.
Yeah, and Mike, you bring up a good point. Like we're looking for New Yorkers, and it's difficult to find them. I mean, just look at every major city, every area they go. They have a most wanted list. The person is in their town or in their city, and you can't find them. Could you imagine? I mean, people sometimes don't realize the entire massiveness of the United States. I mean, Everybody
Yeah.
lives on the coast, right?
Yeah.
And in the middle, where this guy's found in Tulsa, Oklahoma,
Yeah.
not so many people live in there, which could also have been helpful in that respect too, because if he would have stayed probably more in a dense area of people, he might have he might have been lasted a little longer. But the issue comes down to is that the dedication behind this case and the fact that they were working these things with we're going to talk about this investigative genetic genealogy. I'll tell you, Mike, it's kind of exciting for investigators, I think, right now with all these new tools that they have access to. Because when you think about what they did here in
And
another
like,
country, in
yeah.
another country.
And like you said, that's why it's good to bring the feds in, because as we know, a lot of these small agencies do not have the ability. They don't have the manpower, they don't have the units. So, that's why, cooperation with other agencies is what solved this case.
Anthony Crotty, HSI, Homeland Security Investigations. Thank you, Anthony. I knew I was probably wrong on that, but I knew it was something. I didn't hear about it and I didn't identify him. But so thank you, Anthony, for that information. And then I saw another one. Yeah, this Kimberly said, I've been thinking that whole time this has gone on. He could have been anywhere, and there is no good way to track him. Yeah, I mean, think about this. We had a case. We tracked the guy down to the Dominican Republic, and the only reason why I knew about all these red notices and everything else, and believe me, they simplified the process when they talked about this. Because let me tell you something, folks, getting somebody or information from another country is not that easy. And I'm talking about countries not so much as small like El Salvador, but I'm talking about major European countries even too. It's not easy.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to give up their citizens. It's as simple as that. Nobody wants to give up their citizens because you get a bad reputation if you do, and then things become a little bit of a problem. So
Yeah.
let's talk a little about the CODIS. Someone had asked me quickly. I just want to go through. CODIS has two databases. Actually has several databases, but the two main databases is what we call the offender database, which is your known, and we have the crime scene database, which is the real name of it is the forensic database, and that's where they put DNA from people that recovered from a crime scene that they don't know who it is, and that's how they got the hit. So LA gets the DNA, they put it into CODIS, they run it, doesn't come up with a hit in the known database, so it gets placed in the forensic database, the unknown database. And lo and behold, and then in August, when they get the DNA recovered at the Rachel Morin scene, they put it in, and that's when CODIS comes up with a hit in regards to the forensic database. They still don't know who it belongs to. All they know now is that they have a pattern, because in law enforcement, 2 incidents creates a pattern. Does it fall within the guidelines of serial? No, not yet, right? Because we only know of the one homicide here in El Salvador. That's 2, and then the FBI definition is 3. So I wouldn't worry too much about the label part, but that's how the DNA system works. That's pretty much how it works. The question comes down to is, Mike, and we don't know for sure, right? How do they end up getting that DNA to come back, even in IgG, to actually come up with a family name? There's only one way as far as I'm concerned, or maybe 2 ways. But I think that whole trip to El Salvador started here in the United States first.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to just good stuff. I mean, we're covering the DNA and probably a lot of legwork and a lot of interviews, and especially I'm sure when they went to El Salvador, that was fruitful. So that was me fluffing because I don't know what I'm talking about.
Okay. No, really what we're talking about in regards to this is that they get the DNA and they just can't automatically say, okay, the DNA comes back to somebody from El Salvador, so let's just go to El Salvador and ask them, hey, do you have a DNA hit on this? Does El Salvador have a DNA database? Maybe they do. Who knows, right? I don't know. But the issue that comes down to is that it could possibly have come from here in the United States when they did their tree, come back to a family member here. Now, that family member, there's only 2 ways that they could have gotten that DNA. One, through a conviction or arrest for a felony, right? So somebody else that is related to him was arrested, or somebody here or in El Salvador does one of these DNA test kits and has their information in the tree. To me, I think that's the only way that they could have gotten that kind of information. One of two ways, because they just don't take this and say, all right, well, we have an attaché in El Salvador, so we're just going to fly down there and see if they have anything on this DNA, because you could have done that over the phone.
Right. Right. I agree. What you said is probably the most prudent theory, that there was a hit on a family member that was probably arrested, and probably somebody talked. So,
well, and that's what Sharon is saying here. Says, I think he was staying with somebody and they turned him in his clothing for DNA testing. Could possibly be, right? So he getting
100%.
some information. Sharon, that's a good one. Cakes Boo is in the room, or AKA Cakes Burrow.
The burrow's in the house.
Yes. And also Kay is in the room. So guys, welcome everybody. We're just discussing now, we're over 315 people, Mike. We are discussing the arrest of what we think, really trying to fill in the blanks about what transpired in this arrest. And I'm still floored. I think this was a phenomenal case, how they put this thing together. And it's which really intrigued me. And the reason why I wanted to do this, because it's like, wow, right? I mean, new technology, great investigative gumshoe footwork, right? I mean, all of the things that you talk about, that you remember when you were training detectives, it's not always about the new technology. It's about getting off your butt, knocking on doors, doing things right, that good old gumshoe police work.
Can you imagine the satisfaction by the detectives when they caught this guy and then confirmed his DNA was the same DNA? That's like winning the World Series. What a sense of relief. And then to notify Rachel's family, what an amazing accomplishment. And I'm sure it was an awesome feeling for them and a relief for the family. So really good job on the investigators. I can't give them enough credit. What a great job.
Yeah, and you bring that up, Mike, because that's something that we don't really talk about. But we've all been there. You and I both have been there, right? When you're hunting somebody and you catch them, it's like everybody's high-fiving everybody. Everybody's all excited. This one must have been like a huge party, because you have, there could have been like 50, 60 people working on this case, right? I'll give Harford County Sheriff a lot of credit in this. I know, he kept 3 detectives on this case the entire time. I mean, we're talking about a really small department, and he kept 3 detectives, and that was confirmed by Matt. He said, no, they are working, and Matt had said that the communication between them was awesome. So it is absolutely great to see that everybody working together. And unlike television, where, the cops and the FBI are always fighting, which is always nonsense to me. I always, just kind of laugh at that stuff. But, the FBI plays a huge role in getting all this stuff together and doing it. It's amazing.
I wish they would explain how they did it,
I think they will.
And give credit to the investigators that were involved. Give them credit for the good work, just amazing work.
I honestly, I think they will. I just think that it's just a little too early right now, because now that, now the defense stuff starts and the discovery and everything else. So I think they were really playing this close to the vest, so to speak, and they were avoiding specific things. So they mentioned the forensic investigative genealogy, right? The IGG, where they're basically building these trees. They get everywhere the information, whether they get the information from here or they ended up going down to El Salvador. But still, whoever they spoke to, they got information about a cell phone or some other information. I mean, how do you track this guy down to Tulsa, Oklahoma, of all places, right, in this whole country, unless you had some sort of electronic device or debit card or credit card or something that somebody knew? That's the only way to do it. So there was some cooperation from somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. They probably had undercovers. They probably had a CI. They probably watched him for days, if not weeks, until they were 100% sure this was their perp. So really good work.
Yeah, and even with Tulsa, right? They're investigating him on some, like, I guess, criminal trespass charge, right? Which is generally a misdemeanor. So they kind of knew exactly who they were looking for, and they were able to hold him for looks like a violation until they can confirm that it was him. So, all along, it's been phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, once they got the video, right, ring camera video, they probably knew who he was already. Like when they talked to the people that lived at that residence, it's just they just, again, no ID, no documents. So it was, again, a hard search for this guy, and then him moving from state to state. They probably suspected he left the country. That's why they went to El Salvador. So, my God, what a lot of legwork.
Yeah, and it's not around the corner, that's for sure. Even to get to Oklahoma. I mean, he had to have some sort of network here to help him get to all these places. I mean, he comes in, crosses the border. He's in Los Angeles, California. He's all the way across the entire country in Maryland. I mean, he went coast to coast, and then he ends up in the middle of the country, right? How does he get there? And all these things. Was he helped because the people? There's I think they about gang involvement or whatever else. I mean, we don't know for sure until the officials come out and say, this is what exactly transpired.
It's just
I always,
amazing.
go ahead. I'm sorry, Mike.
I was just going to say, it's just amazing how people move through this country. If you remember that incident in New York when they assaulted those cops, weren't those guys found in Arizona?
Yep. Within a short period of time.
How do they move so fast? Do they have the money? How are they doing this? You're right. There's definitely some kind of a network, whether people are illegally helping them or innocently helping them. They don't know, they don't know what they did. So it's crazy how they're just moving throughout the country and hiding, I don't know where, with other migrants, perhaps, I'm sure with other migrants. So.
Yeah, and like I said, and within these circles, people aren't calling the police anything, even if they knew what he was doing, because they're worried about themselves and their own families, and that's not going to help them in their case. But I want to show you. So we're gonna talk a little bit about this red notice, Mike. Let's see. Okay, so here the red notice. For those of you that heard about the red notice, right? So it's an Interpol, right? So it's the international law enforcement kind of thing. The Interpol is something that the police, so let's put it this way, the Hartford sheriff is not going to reach out to Washington, D.C. per se. They usually go through the FBI and then go through Washington, D.C. It's a federal government thing that goes that, so there's only basically one avenue. Everybody has to go through Washington, D.C. So if you're an LAPD or NYPD or you're the Hartford sheriff, you have to go through Washington, D.C. in order to get one of these notices. And generally it's done with cooperation with the FBI because their headquarters is located right there in D.C. So there are different kinds of notices. But what I didn't, I'm just taking for granted that probably a lot of people don't know that you can actually search for these things. Now, Victor Antonio Martinez-Hernandez, the suspect, he's no longer in the database. But there are lots of people that you can still search for, and you can see some of the pictures of people, and you can read about their stories. And here, I don't know if am I on the okay? Good. Just wanted to make sure I'm on the right page. If you look here, you can actually search for people. So let's put it this way. So if you're now doing your own YouTube show or you're doing something, so if let's say Gizla and the Grizzly True Crime folks are doing something and you think there's an international warrant on this guy, you could go over to this Interpol page and search. What I'll do is I'll put the link to this in the show notes after the show is over. So if anybody wants to take a look at it and play around and see, if they're following any cases, if they're doing anything, because maybe the case that you are following. Okay, good. There's Raul just put the link into the comments section. It might be another investigative tool for those that are doing their own shows and doing their own research.
Yeah, that's good stuff. That's good information. I know our community is big into investigation, so a lot of good tips for them. So they get more information and work with something instead of just listening to information that they heard that's unvetted. So really good stuff.
Right, or listening to two old guys drinking coffee talking about the good old days, right?
Yeah. You mean us?
Yes. Hey, listen,
Some,
we don't know everything, that's for sure, and we try to put out the best information we can out there, just based on we used to do this for a living, and listen,
I,
evidence is always important.
I hope we come off as like that. I hope we don't come off as know-it-alls and listen to what I'm saying. I don't think that. I think we come off as we're learning still, right? So hopefully you guys appreciate that.
Yeah, and I think if they did, Mike, they would tell us anyway, because some people have no qualms about telling you you're an idiot and that's it, right? I've had that a couple of times recently with the
I
last
forgot.
show there.
I forgot who called us the two old Muppets on the balcony. I forget their names, but that's totally us.
Yeah, I think it might have been Charlotte. Charlotte Perkin might have been it. I think she put that on
You
Twitter at some point.
remember? You're good. Statler and something. Is that the name of those guys? I forget their
Yeah,
names,
something
but
like that.
they're awesome.
Yeah. So, and also I want to show you. Let's talk about some other notices that you get from. While we're on this topic, I'm just going to share the screen again.
It
Okay,
was
there it is.
Sheila. Sheila said it was her.
Sheila. Is Sheila in the room?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Sheila. Yeah, so Sheila was making fun of us. So this is the look at all these different notices that the police can put in law enforcement. So this comes from, I think it was the State Department is the one, if I remember correctly. I don't know, it could have changed, but the police threw an ORI number, which is the origination number, that every police department has their own unique number, and it's for the computers to talk to one another, so that when the computers talk to the law enforcement computers in Washington D.C. or elsewhere, it doesn't have to be vetted for anything. They know that it's exactly who you are. It's kind of like an IP address. Let's put it that way, right? So the ORI number was like the original IP addresses, and where you can actually attach to a specific computer in a police department, and that the computer that talks to it can say, this is the police department. We don't have to worry about anybody gaining access, because that computer also goes into NCIC, which is the National Crime Information Center, which is run by the FBI, and NamUs now, which is part of NCIC. There's a lot of different things. So that ORI number becomes important. So red notices, you got blue notices and yellow notices, and they have to do with missing persons. They have to do with cases where a family member takes another child out of the country in a domestic dispute, and all the different things that goes along with that. So I'll put the link in there for everybody. Let's talk a little bit about the FBI in this case, because they did a great job. So William Del Bagno, I'm going to show you this guy. He was real well-spoken guy, and that's him on the right. There he is. He's the Baltimore supervisor in charge. He kind of like gives all those FBI agents the same kind of look, right? So if you asked AI to draw you a FBI agent, they would draw you Bill Del Bagno, right? I mean, this guy's like the epitome of FBI agents. But let me tell you something. I was really impressed with him.
Can you make the picture bigger?
I can try. All right, give me a second.
Sorry to put you on the spot there.
Yeah, that's about the best I can do, Mike. If I do something, I might blow it up. But,
okay. He does look like an FBI agent.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. All he's missing is the dark sunglasses.
Yeah.
But really impressed with him. He was, like I said, well-spoken. He gave some information. You could say he was unwilling to provide some other things. I think you could tell that. But working with an FBI agent like this is I think means all the difference in the world, because it shows you that partnership and how this thing works. Because without it, this never happens.
100%. 100%. Don't let his proper appearance fool you, folks. This guy got in the dirt and did amazing work. I'm sure he got all grimy looking for this guy, and then he cleans up for the press conference. So really good job on everybody involved. Amazing work. That had to be a difficult investigation. Me and Joe have been there. Joe has done cold cases. It's to hunt for a perp with ID is difficult. These guys, excellent work. Excellent.
Madonna says that looks like a picture of my dad from 1970. LOL. Yeah. Yeah. you know, so I mean, I think people were also shocked too about to find out that the FBI has legal attaches all over the country. Uh,
Sure.
the NYPD does too. I mean,
Yeah.
they're in like 30 different countries. It's
Yeah.
about building the intelligence. I think that the El Salvador part was a little concerning and not concerning, but I think people were surprised about El Salvador because it's a country you really don't hear from often. But for those of us that are old enough, remember El Salvador with the Civil War and all the things that were going on between the communism back in the day and everything else in the early 1980s. We know exactly why they're there because it became a hotbed of things. I think was it Noriega or was that San Salvador? I don't know for sure. Maybe somebody can correct me in there, but I know there was some big time civil war going on down there.
Yeah, that ain't the United States, folks. I think we had a colleague of mine had the opportunity to do a class in El Salvador, and I'm like, yeah, that's a hard pass. I'm not sure I want to go there. I don't, if you just go, listen, I don't know what's going on over there. You Google El Salvador and police. There's all kinds of stuff about corruption and everything. So, it's not the United States.
Yeah, and Latin America has had a lot of problems with corruption and crime, as we know too, and definitely not. Hope, Eight Fear just gifted a membership. Thank you, Hope, for your continued support. I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Hope.
Mike, we're tuning into 371 people so far for this edition of Roll Call. We're discussing or trying to break down what we think occurred in the arrest of Victor Antonio Martinez-Hernandez in the death of Rachel Morin. The mother of Rachel Morin, that was a gut wrencher when she was up there talking about this, and she did something really nice, and it was totally unscripted because she even said it. She's like, I don't know if we could do this, but we're going to do it anyway. Give the cops a round of applause. And she said, I never thought that this case was going to be solved. So 10 months into this, she was almost gave up hope.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I saw her presser, and yeah, you can see there's a little bit of relief there, and probably a little bit of disbelief that this nightmare is starting to be over. I know they're still going to go through the trial, but yeah, it was heartbreaking. You just mentioning that, I'm thinking about how I got emotionally watching it, and that's a part of law enforcement that we never discussed. Like, I'm sure she thanked those investigators. We hide behind our shield. We don't really show emotion, but I guarantee when they told her this information, everybody got emotional. Yeah, it's just part of the work, I guess.
Yeah, no, and I had emailed Matt just to say, listen, thoughts and prayers and are with you guys today as you go through this tough time. I let him be. That's all. I didn't want him to talk about it. I didn't want to ask him nothing about it. I just said, listen, basically enjoy this moment. There's still a lot of hard work ahead, but this is something to do this. And I would never bother him to say, hey, listen, come on and tell me how you feel. I would never do that. And
No.
I left it at that. And he did get
Yeah.
back to me. So yeah, it must have been a rough day for the whole family in regards to this. So yeah, you're at the high highs, but you're also at the low lows. And specifically for Matt, right? He's having his. If you remember, if you saw that, he said, he's going to have his first grandchild, and he wanted this over before then. His prayers were answered.
It's definitely a lot to process, especially for the poor kids. Now you got to face to this monster. Just it's a lot.
Starcasm. She keeps on changing her name, but she's out there. Good morning, everybody, and the mods. Yes, I don't thank the mods enough, but yes, the mods. Thank you all very much to keeping the chat. I saw, a couple people saying, stay on focus and stay on this. Guys, listen, we gotta, just let the thing happen as it goes. Let's avoid the hate kind of stuff. We don't want to tolerate that kind of stuff here. So
we can hate this guy. Fuck this.
We can hate the guy, but I'm talking about then everybody gets labeled and things turn to politics. I don't talk about politics. I could care less. I'm not a political guy, and you'll never hear me discuss this stuff. And in the issue that comes, we even started off the show with saying we thought it was unfortunate to even include that in there, because Listen, it is what it is.
Raul, Raul
Yeah.
just liked my
Yes.
comment.
Yeah. Well, there you go, Mike. He can never. I don't. People think I can control you. I don't control you. So, and nor do we discuss what we're going to talk about other than the main topic. We don't. There's no script here, which kind of makes me
I think
nervous sometimes.
I think the chat can read your face pretty well. The shock and surprise, and you're pretty good. You never, for lack of words, but sometimes I get you a little bit.
Well, people always bring up the comment like when things are going to get. I take off my glasses because they're ready for the face palm.
These are your tells. We're learning your tells, Joe.
Yes.
You might fold under questioning, like Joe Pesci said.
Yeah. Hey, well, listen. Yeah, it is what it is. But before we move on to anything else, Mike, on this, do you think that there's a possibility that this guy is responsible for other crimes in regards to this?
I hate to even think of the possibility. Yeah, 100%. And not just only him, the people that helped him. I hope they lock everybody up. They get everybody that helped this guy. Everybody.
Who knowingly helped them, right? Who knowingly helped them? Because I think there's a lot of people that might have helped out and didn't have a clue that this guy was wanted. Because it's not like they put this out and said, "Hey, this is what." When the posters came out from Los Angeles, that's when I think things really started to fall into place. Right when those posters came out, because listen, even bad guys don't like bad guys like this. I mean, it's like when you're attacking 9-year-olds and women and stuff like that. There's even a code of conduct in regards to certain criminal activity that's not agreed upon by most of the criminal enterprises out there. You think I'm crazy, but it's true. There are people, there are criminals that do not like this stuff.
Yeah, we've seen it. He might get some kind of underground justice wherever he ends up.
Well, here's the thing for him, right? If he is a gang member, he's going into the system now. This puts a target squarely on his back. I mean, and the conversation turned to Mike. They had asked the sheriff about is there basically a detainer on him, right? So there is an ICE detainer, and he started to say, "Well, we're gonna," and he kind of cut it off. He was basically going to say like, we're going to put ICE detainers on everybody. We're not letting everybody go like other places, because we've seen this happen, Mike, right? Where an ICE detainer should have been put on somebody, they don't, and then these guys go out and commit more heinous crimes after they get released because they weren't held for ICE. So the question that comes down to is, welcome Andrea as a new member to the channel.
Andrea.
Yeah, what are you supposed to say? Andrea. I think it's Andrea.
I like the way you said it. Andrea. A little pompous. Andrea.
Anyway.
There's one that's unscripted, folks. See his face?
So he even got me verklempt. I don't even know what the hell I was going to say. Oh, so we were talking about the detainer, the ICE detainer. Yeah. Because now the conversation is, where is he better off serving his time? People are like, oh, he's going to fight extradition from Tulsa. No, he's not. He wants to come. He wants to stay here in the prison system here. He does not want to go to El Salvador and face the justice for the homicide over there. I can guarantee you that. Guarantee you that.
100%. Because if he had the ability to go back to his home country, he would have. He left. He left for a reason, because he didn't want to face what was going to happen there. They would have chopped his head off, and that would have been it. No, he's here. He's going to get 3 squares for the rest of his life. I wish he'd go back to El Salvador, but that's not going to be. I don't think that's going to be the case.
Yeah, he's not going to deal with that kind of justice that he's going to get down there, because everyone says that our prison system is awful. I'm like, yeah, you better go to some other countries and tell me about their prison systems, because our prison system compared to El Salvador is probably like going to the Holiday Inn. It's as simple as that.
I mean, 100%. But you're right, though, Joe. Once he gets called and he testifies, the information that this mutt knows, right? There's other people out there are worried about it, and they might just say, you know what, this guy's going to cooperate. Whatever he knows, they might just whack him. They might just whack him in prison. So I hope he gets his just desserts. Just saying.
Well, I mean, there's a possibility of that happening, of course, but the issue that comes down to is that we want to make sure that justice is done in this case, and for the LA case, people are asking who's going to have jurisdiction over this. The worst crime happens in Maryland. That's where they're going with it, right? So you have all they are referring to in Los Angeles is an assault. We don't know the type of assault that's happened in Los Angeles. We can only imagine what transpired over there. But homicide always rules the day. Whoever gets stuck with the homicide, that jurisdiction is going to be the one that's going to do the case. And what happens is Los Angeles will file arrest paperwork for him in Los Angeles, and they will also put an extradition in, because just in case something goes wrong with the Maryland case, he'll just go right from Maryland right to LA. So I mean, this guy's not going anywhere, folks. I know I was watching some comments online about different things, not us, not in our room, but I've been following different shows. Of course, I watch things too, and there's a lot of concern that people can say, "Oh, he could get out. What happened?" He's not going anywhere.
No,
he's not.
We definitely want to get as much information from this guy. We want to wring this guy dry and pin him to everything, get as much information on anything he was involved in and who he was involved in. So,
well, specifically, if he is involved in a gang network, right? I mean, that's the rumor. That's the rumor.
Yeah.
Unproven. It could be true. We don't know.
I can almost guarantee he's part of a gang, and let's get all those guys too.
Right, and that's the thing, right? Let's identify, let's find out what's going on, and see how bad this thing really.
This guy's never getting out of jail, but he's definitely going to sing and give information to help him. This piece of crap. So again, wring him dry. Wring him dry.
They got leverage on him.
Yeah,
they got leverage on him because the leverage is we're going to send you back to El Salvador and face justice over there instead. So
he's a coward. He's a coward. Right. Can you imagine what they're doing to his family in El Salvador? For killing that homicide in us. Can you imagine what they're putting his family through? He's a coward. That's why he left. He left everybody. He's a piece of crap, and now he's here. He's our problem. We got him. I'm getting angry, Joe. But yes. On a side note, you did say Andrea's name correctly. Let's not forget.
Oh, I did. Andrea,
you did. Andrea. It's the correct pronunciation in Germany. So I stand corrected.
There you go. And Starkhead says, when are the hoodies coming? Yeah, we're working on a hoodie for the show. If anybody was looking for a mug or anything like that,
a hoodie.
The link is in the show notes, and you can take a look at that. The mugs have been pretty popular, actually. So I was kind of excited about that. But yeah,
can we get a hashtag story time hoodie?
Yeah, we're gonna get something for you, Mike. We got something in the works for that. You're gonna have your own. You're gonna have your own thing, and you have no idea what's coming. But just on a side note, just to get off the Rachel Morin case for just 1 second. Do you remember, Mike? It was about, I guess, a year or so ago, almost a year ago, in the Brian Kohlberger thing. There was a psychic that. Yeah, so that lawsuit actually is moving forward now. So if you guys don't know what we're talking about, there was a psychic that blamed a professor, and we weren't going to get into the details of this because it's just. But the problem for her is she accused her of being involved in the crimes, like 200 videos or something. It wasn't just one; it was like bombarded in there. So the professor filed a defamation lawsuit. And it's going through. She's going to be responsible for summary action. Just goes to show you that accusing people on social media could be a really terrible thing. So if you do something without evidence, and this was the kind of stuff that got me in trouble the other day. But if you accuse somebody and you don't have the evidence, the direct evidence to prove it, you could put yourself in the crosshairs. I don't care if who you are at that point. It's not a good thing to do, and everybody needs to be careful of that.
And again, a lot of speculations out there. We try to be careful what we say, mostly Joe, But yeah, you got to be guarded what you say, folks. You don't want to be sued. This person's going to be sued now, and it's going to be a lesson for everybody that these psychics and everybody. So
You can't accuse somebody of a heinous crime, specifically a quadruple murder, with zero evidence.
yeah,
Zero. Only
yeah.
because your tarot cards told you or whatever you know. Anyway, you could Google it yourself. There's an article on Bloomberg about it. It just happened. That decision just came down a few days ago. So you can take. I had done a short, YouTube short on it. It was one of my first things I ever did. And when I started trying to get into this thing, and we're coming up, Mike, to the year anniversary here on the channel.
Oh,
August 19th. Yeah, August 19th will be the 1 year on the channel. And I had
wow,
thought my goal was to have 10,000 subscribers by August 19th. That was the goal, right? So we're over 13,000 now.
that's
So
awesome.
we might make 15 by then. Who knows? But the reason why I'm bringing this up now is because I'm going to make a special announcement for August 1st about the whole month of August. And I also have I'm trying to get up a whole week of shows in a row in July, and I'm going to tell everybody about that too. But August, I'm going to do something interesting for everybody. So just be aware of that. It's going to be a good thing. We're going to do some good here on the channel because I've been very fortunate. Mike has helped me out. A lot of people have helped me out. The channel members, the subscribers, the mods, everybody. And we're going to do a little payback or pay it forward. Let's put it that way. Yeah, not payback. Pay it forward. And we're going to do something in August, and I'm going to announce that probably on July 31st. Is it 31 days in July?
Yeah.
Okay, so 31st, I'll announce it, and because it's going to be good. Trust me. So, Mike, the hour's almost up. Believe it or not, everyone's looking for a Mike story.
Okay.
If you don't have one, I have one.
You do one. You do one.
Well, it's kind of tie into this. It's not
Perfect.
a funny one. It's a tie into international suspects. So we had a guy that was wanted for a series of assaults and homicides all over New York City. His name was Angel Garritti. He was living in the Dominican Republic. We had gotten his DNA, and the DNA then started hitting all of the different boroughs, or what some people call counties or parishes, right? So we had this whole thing going on up in the Bronx Cold Case Squad. And we had to now try to get him out of the Dominican Republic. And the two detectives, let's go, unfortunately, Mark Tebbins, he has passed away. But they've written books about Mark Tebbins, including The Wild Cowboys. He was in Time Magazine. He was like a 30-year detective, first grader. He was one of these guys, like if God forbid something happened to you, you'd want him on your case. I mean, this guy was unbelievable. And anyway, they had to go to the Dominican Republic to interview him. So he went through with the authorities, and they gave him this like pen to like record the conversation. Nothing worked out. Everything was a disaster. So, and Mark he was so big too. Like he would sweat like when it's 50 degrees out. And I remember when they called me from the Dominican Republic, I'm like, I can hear you sweating from here, Mark. Like, what's going on down there? And then Tony was an older guy too. I'm like, Tony, don't slip and fall, because if you break a hip down there, we're not gonna be able to do anything about it. But the issue that comes down to it, so these guys went down to the Dominican Republic twice to finally get the information that they needed. So they come back. Folks, it took nearly 2 years to get what was called the governor's warrant done. We had to go up to the New York State governor. The governor writes the governor's warrant, goes to Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. has to deal with the with the federal agents and everything, go down and get the guy out of the Dominican Republic. So when you look at how much time it took us, nearly 2 years to get this guy out of the Dominican Republic, and what this team of FBI agents and cops and sheriffs were able to do in 10 months is amazing. Yes, the guy was living in the United States, which helps out a lot, but it is just something that I know some people are disappointed that it's not a funny story, but they still want to hear a story from you.
I got a quick funny one. Because Simi, I think it was a Simi. Yeah, Simi said I should do a short video of the Darth Sasquatch story, probably on my channel. But I got a quick massage story. See, folks, I don't really plan on a story. There you go. Take the glasses off. But it
A
triggered
massage
me.
story?
I got a funny massage story. So this has nothing to do with police work. As some of the viewers know, I was an undercover in Vice. So I have gotten millions of illegal massage and closed, cases for sex workers. But this one has nothing to do with illegal massage. This was actually a legit massage. So I was visiting my friend Anna Marie, who lives in Long Beach. One of our viewers is from Long Beach, Long Island. I love Long Beach, Long Island. I almost bought a house in Long Beach, Long Island. I don't know if you saw what happened this weekend in Long Beach, Long Island. I'm kind of glad I didn't buy a house in Long Beach, Long Island. But we went for a massage, me and Anna Marie, and it's a typical legal massage, no happy endings. And me and Anna Marie, my best friend, we're like separated by curtains. It's a small joint separated by curtains. So I'm on one side, she's on the other. And I get this small Asian woman, right? She's going to give me a massage. So she goes, when you get a massage, she goes, how do you like the pressure? Do you like it hard, medium, soft? You don't know? You never had a massage?
Never had a massage.
I'm going to have to take you to a massage.
No, you're not.
Anyway.
There's no strangers giving me a massage. I can tell you that right now.
Not even Darth Sasquatch?
Especially Darth Sasquatch.
So she's a little woman. So I'm like, yeah, give me a good hard shiatsu massage. Man, let me tell you, I was screaming this, and it was all fingers. You know how they kind of cheat? Oh, you don't know. But folks, when they kind of cheat and they use their elbow to get that pressure in? No, this little woman was using her fingers, and I was crying. I was like, and as she's digging into me, and mind you, Anne-Marie, we're just separated by a curtain. She's hearing this whole thing. She's digging into me, and I'm grunting. I'm like, ugh, right? And I said, okay, can you go medium? I said, can you go medium? And the lady goes, oh, you're a big baby. You don't like it hard? You're a big baby. So Anne-Marie's cracking up because she can hear all this. And I go, yeah, I'm a big baby. Just go easier. And she goes, eat it. I don't think she even went easier. It was still amazingly painful. And then she's like doing this contortion on me. So I'm on my belly. And if you could picture it, she's pulling my hands behind my back. And she's sitting on me. And now she's pulling me. Like, what do you call those torture devices? That she's just pulling me back. So if you could picture, I'm becoming like, this is my head, this is my back. I'm becoming like a U. And she's like a rack. She's stretching me like a rack. And she's pulling me. And she's doing this. I was like, oh my God, I've never had that done before. You could just imagine what Anne-Marie's thinking. I was like, what the hell's going on in that room, Yeah. Anyway, it wasn't. And
the only reason why you could get away with that is because you're Filipino too. Because if not, they'd be canceling us after that whole that whole thing.
Nothing bad happened. I mean, it was just. Anyway, it was not a relaxing massage. Anna Marie's cracking up because I see all the laugh. People are enjoying this story.
Yeah, they're enjoying. I think they might be enjoying me cringing.
I seem to pick the wrong masseuse every time. You want a good relaxing massage? I got Sasquatch massaging me. Now I got this lady just torturing me. And I keep going back. I do love my massages, and I'm sure the ladies and gents love their massages too. So.
Well, that fuzzy Doxy says I'm with Sarge. I don't want strangers rubbing on me. Yeah. Bad enough trying to take the subway and people rubbing on you. Taking the subway coming home. I gotta ask, you know what though? Not so much this. What is going on with people? You could have an empty parking lot. You park like as far away from anybody else, and somebody will park next to you.
They do that on purpose. They do that on purpose. Because that happens to my friend. He's got a brand new Vet. He loves his Corvette, so he purposely parks far away. So some guy's driving. I said, oh, nice Vet. Oh, you want to park far away so no one dings your car? I'm going to park right next to you. They 100% do it on purpose.
But I don't have a Corvette. I have a freaking, Toyota. I drive around in this little, and I park it somewhere. And the place will be empty, and I'll come out, and the car will be right next to it. I'm like, what is
On
up with that?
purpose. On purpose. 100% on purpose.
And even on the damn train, like you're like they're taking the Long
Forget
Island
about a
Railroad
train.
or the subway.
Yeah.
It's like the place is empty, and they got to sit right next to you. And I've actually just like looked at people, like, are you kidding me? Like, are you really kidding me? And I get up and I'll move on to the other side.
I park
And
in
I'll
New
just
Jersey
stare at them.
Transit.
Mike, it happened to me. I'm on the. It was New Jersey Transit. This lady comes in and plops. I mean, not even in the middle of the seat, leave the space. She sat right next to me. The entire car was almost empty.
I got another great story. Do we have time? I have another. This is a good, happy story.
Okay.
So I was coming out of Staples. I have Luna in tow because I take her everywhere. My baby goes through like separation anxiety. I take her everywhere. So I go to Staples. Some people love her, some people don't, whatever. And I bring her back to the car. As I'm putting her back in her seat in the car, there's a lady who I thought was like parked really close to me too. And I had to squeeze in, because why did you park so close to me? I get it. She's probably going to Staples. So I'm situating Luna, and she rolls down her window. She goes, "Oh my God, is that a Shih Tzu?" And I'm like, "Yeah, she's a Shih Tzu Pom." She goes, "Oh, I had a Shih Tzu Pomeranian, nice lady." And she goes, "I just lost her." I goes, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And she goes, "Oh, it's okay." So I close the door. I get in my car. I look over at the lady, and she's crying. She's crying, covering her face, because Luna just reminded her of her baby. And I roll down the window. I go, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" She goes, "Yeah." And she goes, she just reminds me so much of, my baby. And she showed me pictures. She showed me a picture, looked just like Luna. I felt so bad for her. And I said, "Do you want to hold her?" She's very friendly. And she goes, "No, it's okay." Just broke my heart that she got so upset. I hope it made her feel good to see. And she goes, "My baby was my traveling companion too. She always, she was my co-pilot." So yeah, I'm a big softie, folks. I don't know if I come off as hard, but I'm a big softie.
Yeah, I might look nice, but when it comes to public transportation, I don't want anybody rubbing up against me. I'm sorry, especially when there's other available seats. Listen, I know at rush hour, you got to deal with it, right? You got to deal with all kinds of stuff at rush hour. You get it. But when you're off hours and somebody does that, I just I just can't take it. I just can't take it.
Yeah.
And I'm not the biggest guy in the world, so people like, "Oh, I was reading the chat. Maybe you look friendly." No, I'm not friendly.
Joe's friendly. Joe's friendly. Just don't be a wise ass to him, because he will rip your head off. I've seen it.
All right, folks. Mike, that was over an hour. You almost got us canceled with the first story, but
I don't think so. That was a good story.
No, voice impressions. It was the voice impressions.
Oh, but that's what she sounded like. That's what she sounded like.
I said, you could get away with it.
She was obviously Irish.
All right, folks. Listen, thanks for joining us. We had nearly 400 people watching the show live. Thank you very much. You guys have a great weekend. Great week. Excuse me. Tomorrow night, 6 p.m. I have Karen Conti, who was the death row attorney for serial killer John Wayne Gacy. So that's going to be a good show. She's written a book. She's going to be live tomorrow night at Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern time. I hope you guys can make it. Thanks for coming, and we'll talk to you soon. Mike, hang out 1 second. Bye, everybody. Have a great day.